On the day's other big topic at today's White House briefing, a severe case of whiplash regarding who exactly this Dick Cheney guy is anyway. As we told you yesterday, the Vice President's office previously claimed he's exempt from an executive order requiring all of the executive branch to report its handling of classified information to a federal office known as ISOO. His rationale was that he is not part of the executive branch. Today, that rationale flipped 180 degrees when spokesperson Perino revealed that Mr. Cheney has now evolved to a point where he is not just in the executive branch, but is indistinguishable from the president himself.
The president did not intend for the vice president to be treated separately from how he would treat himself. The president's intention was never to separate the vice president out from himself. If you look on page 18 of the EO when you have a chance, there's a distinction regarding the vice president versus what is an agency.
Well, our staff had a chance. No exemption at all for the vice president on page 18, so we emailed the White House, which referred us to sections 1.3, which is about something else altogether, and 5.2, which makes no mention of the vice president. In fact, there is no exemption for the vice president or even the president when it comes to reporting on classified material. The president himself, most significantly his National Security Council, has mostly been in compliance with ISOO. Why? His executive order specifically says it applies to, quote, any executive agency, any military department, and any other entity within the executive branch. Coupled with Perino's claim that Cheney is a part of the executive branch, his noncompliance with the order leaves Cheney only one argument for noncompliance, that he is no longer an entity of any kind, having evolved at last into a literal shadow government unto himself. Let's turn now to our political analyst, Dana Milbank, also a national political reporter of the Washington Post. Dana, good evening.
Hello, Keith.
Until today, the vice president was arguing he was outside the executive branch. Then today, the White House argued he's equal to the executive branch based on these non-existent clauses in one of its own executive orders. Has Cheney just evolved into a higher being beyond our understanding?
It's like understanding the Holy Trinity, isn't it? It's interesting. I think the vice president regards the law much the way he regards arterial plaque, and that is, if you're going along and some law gets in your way, you just push it aside and put in a stent and go on about your business. And that's what he's done in this case. But of course, that's what he's been doing all the way back to the Energy Task Force. That's what he was doing, making the rationales for the Al-Qaeda's links to 9/11. That's what he, as you were discussing in the Gitmo case, whenever you get in his way, you're going to start looking like Harry Whittington.
It's a different level of consciousness. All kidding aside, there's a serious question remaining about Ms. Perino and her citations today. She was either, there are no choices here, flagrantly dishonest or grossly misread an executive order that is by no means written in tough, unfathomable legalese. We should worry about either of them, obviously, but which seems to be more likely?
Well, in her defense, I'm going to posit a third option, and that was that she was merely parroting out what she was told to say. And she was almost certainly told to say that by one David Addington, who is the chief of staff to the vice president. He believes in this extraordinary theory called the unitary executive theory, which basically, if taken to its logical conclusion, means that the president is a dictator and the executive branch is unassailable. It cannot be touched by Congress or by the courts. His theories on everything from torture in the Geneva Conventions to this have managed to permeate the administration. This is a classic example of that. This is picking a fight over an issue that isn't terribly important.
And this all exploded after Congressman Waxman revealed that those ISOO inspectors were unable to gain access to Cheney's files in his office. Now the Attorney General has been asked to weigh in on this. What does he have to do with it, and what should we expect from him? I'm forgetting, what's his name again?
Yes, that fellow. Well, maybe he can appoint Kyle Sampson or Monica Goodling as an independent counsel to get to the bottom of this. But yes, he was asked to do this in January, and once again, I feel like this comes up on almost every issue. The Attorney General has a whole lot of political baggage and is going to have a difficult time weighing in on this issue. Obviously, everybody will expect him to side with Cheney and thereby label it political. So it is very difficult for him to get around that. But if past his prologue, he sides with administrative power.
But at the heart of this, Dana, this is about documents that are vital to national security, and now it appears that there's nobody checking whether Mr. Cheney's office is in compliance. What are the implications of that, and who then steps in to rectify it?
Well, on this particular issue, the implications aren't extraordinary, because it really is just reporting the number of documents, the number of times that things were held as classified. But the larger issue is a very significant one, because it is constantly testing the bounds of executive power and the relations between the branches. Ultimately, it could go to the courts, but the courts want both the Congress and the White House to show some measure of self-restraint. That's how our government works. What you have in Cheney's case is a man showing no self-restraint. So there's really no way in our system to deal with that other than elections.
Our own Dana Milbank, national political reporter for the Washington Post. As always, Dana, great thanks. Have a great weekend.
Good evening.